Do you hate the rating system you have for books and television and movies? Are you looking for a new one? Do you perhaps want to know how to rate books so that you better understand them? Well, I don't know if my system will do that, but I hope you'll indulge me for about 6 minutes. Hi, welcome back to my channel and happy vedif. Today I'm going to be talking about my book rating system. I'm going to go into full detail and depth in this video here. And it's really a very simple rating system. So I have what I like to call gold star and red star ratings. These two ratings have nothing to do with each other and they're totally subjective. I think that's the thing about rating systems, is that it's hard to tell what people's rating systems are, because just the regular 5 stars just doesn't really give anything, because what makes a 5-star book for me may not make a 5-star book for you. However, I have the 2 color star rating system. So gold stars is pure enjoyment level. Did I enjoy this? Did I have fun reading it? Was it something that I would like to read again? Am I giving it 5 stars because I really personally enjoyed reading this book? Red stars are, did I get something out of it? Is it something that I got academically? Is there something that I can learn from it? Is it a craft book? Is it a nonfiction book? Is it a book that you would consider literature? Is it something that's in the literary canon? What can I learn from this book? And does it teach it well? That's essentially what the 2-star system is. I'm going to give you some examples of books that fall personally with my own 2-star rating system specialty. One book that I absolutely love that is 5 stars in both gold and red is The Sympathizer by Viet-Thanh. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I read this for a class and it is both educational and super entertaining. It clutched me in its claws and didn't let me go until I was done. And she's a thicker book. She's a thicker book. This book is so good. It has such a wonderful writing style that is immersive, and he uses words and ways to describe things that I have never heard before and just like blew my mind. On the academic side, this is really a critique of American capitalism and also socialism and communism. And at its core, it's really about the corruption of the human nature and the human spirit. Our main character is a communist spy for Vietnam, but he's currently working with the Americans, and he lives in America for a short while, and we get to follow his journey. He talks about literally every topic on the planet, and it's so good. He talks about sex, religion, drugs, identity, social status, classism, everything you can possibly imagine is in this book, and it is so good. I can't even speak when I think about this book. So it gets a 5 on both the gold star and on the red star because it is both entertaining and educational. A book that falls on the category of it was really great and educational, but I personally didn't super enjoy that is Homegoing by Ya Gyasi. This is a book about half-sisters that are separated, and one ends up being taken to America and is sold into slavery in America, and this is about her bloodline and how they go through America, and is a lot about the trauma of slavery. The other one stays in Ghana and is married to a colonizer, and her family is essentially spared from slavery, and they stay in Ghana and they become warlords, and you kind of see the trajectory of both families all through the generations as more things happen, as there's a lot of trauma, as there's a lot of stuff. It's a really great educational book. It hurts my heart so much. This book is really deep. It's really emotional, and it really is not for the faint of heart. It's really not. It takes a lot of emotional labor to read this book. So for that alone, just because it takes a lot of emotional labor for me, it only gets a 2 stars on the enjoyment aspect of the book, because personally I didn't have a good time reading it. I mean, the style and stuff is amazing. The style and the characters and the way that she writes is fantastic, so that's why it's 3 stars. I said 2 earlier. I meant 3 because it's a wonderful book that I did enjoy looking at and reading, but the content was not pleasurable for me. It was really heavily and really emotional, and I don't think this book deserves the 3-star on my Goodreads, because on the academic side, for my red stars, it gets 5 red stars because it is such a informational and wonderful book that dissects racism, slavery in both America and Africa, and really weaves those 2 narratives together in a way that is just brilliant. This book is absolutely brilliant. So that's why when I put it on Goodreads, I went for the academic reading, because I read this for a class, and I do think it deserves 5 stars because it is an excellent book. However, for my own personal enjoyment, I only gave it a 3 stars because I don't like reading about slavery and sad things that happen to people. I don't like reading about that. I don't know who does. But it's important to do that. So obviously I still really enjoyed this book and think it's a great educational read for people to read, as well as it's a good fiction narrative, because this is a fictional story, but obviously draws from reality. Next is a book that gained 5 stars in the gold star category, but only like 2 or 3 stars in the educational category. That is V.E. Schwab's Darker Shade of Magic series, specifically A Conjuring of Light. This is the last book in the series, I believe. And I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the series. The series is so good. V.E. Schwab is really pleasurable to read. I really enjoy all the characters. I think it's a wonderful fantasy book. It's super, super well done, and I give it 5 stars of enjoyment because I really enjoyed reading this book. However, from an educational standpoint, I didn't really learn much from this book. I think it was just purely me just reading a book for the sake of reading it, just cause. I also wasn't reading this book to kind of discover craft things. Like, sometimes I read books because I know when I read them I'll understand craft better. For example, when I read the Shadow and Bone series, this book is like a 3.4 on my enjoyment level, but I think it was like a 4 on the educational level because I learned a lot about craft from this book, and I was consciously looking for things to learn from this book. Obviously, can I go back and reread this book for craft and up my rating of it? Absolutely. But as it stands, I'm probably not going to reread this anytime soon because I have so many other books that I want to read, and it's not my favorite series by V.E. Schwab. I just don't have any current inclination to dissect these books in a way that will give me a higher rating on the educational level. I did not read it for that purpose. I read it purposely for pleasure. So it's 5 stars on the pleasure one and only 3 stars on the educational, because obviously every time you read a book you learn more. And the final one, which I think is kind of the sad one. It's really sad that this is a category, and unfortunately there are some books that just fall into it. The other book on this is actually one that I know a lot of people enjoy, so please don't come for my head when I tell you what it is. However, this is one of the books that I started seriously writing fantasy because I hated it so much. I DNF'd this book, which means that it's automatically a 1 star if I even give it a star on my ratings on like Goodreads and whatever. Although it's technically a 0 stars because it's a DNF. So it's a 0 DNF on the gold star scale. However, it gets a 5 on the educational scale because it's literally one of the worst books I think I've ever read, and what has really inspired me to write my own fantasy because I hated it so much. And that is the Fallen Kingdom series by Morgan Rhodes. I don't even own my copy anymore. I donated it to the library because I don't want it on my shelves. I don't want it taking up space where other good fantasies could be. I personally hated that book so much. I thought it was so bad. I thought the world building was bad, the characters were bad, it was boring, and the plot was terrible. There were so many plot holes, and like I literally only got like 1/4 of the way into the book. It's very low on the pleasure scale. However, it really lit a fire under me for when it comes to learning my craft and learning how to write a good fantasy book, because oftentimes when you read a book you can kind of learn how not to write a book. So those are some books that fall on the scale. I hope maybe this was a fun and entertaining kind of way to think about books and your ratings of them. I think every book that you read you can learn something from, even if it isn't the most pleasurable experience that you have. And obviously you can read books purely for pleasure without any intention of learning anything from them or actively seeking something to learn from them. That's just my perspective of why I do this 2-star rating system, because I really like to think about books in terms of, did I hate this book? I hate it because it was boring? Did I hate it because I hated the message that was in it? In that case, it would get a low rating on both. Rating books to me is really complicated and nuanced thing that is very different for everyone, and this is just a system I found for myself. Let me know down below what you think. I want to know your salty opinions about books. What's a book that you hate? Basically, just tell me books you hate, because I feel like this is a better way of thinking about books you hate, so you don't think about how much time you wasted. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give me a like down below and subscribe if you want to see more of my rambling face. And I will see you tomorrow. Happy vedif!